Hi everyone and welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make my circle in the sand granny square. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. There's a little button here somewhere and just hit on that button and the notification bell and you'll be informed when there are new videos. Well, this one being Season of the Granny, I'm going to show you this really pretty granny square. And I thought when I started to mess around and do this one that this circle was actually lovely with this Robin paint box yarn, and I used this for a blanket recently and I really like it. So it struck me that these are all really lovely Easter colours, and so pretty soon I'm going to do a project with this this square for a nice Easter blanket. But for now I'm just going to show you how to make the square. And so I'm using this Robin paint box DK yarn for the centre, and as I say, I bought this recently and did a review on it, so you might want to watch that. But I'm using also some just scrap yarns that I've got. These are all different yellows and all DK weight, and they're all very similar in thickness, because I know a 3 weight should be the same, but it isn't, and some come up a lot thinner than others. So, but I really like this with the different pastels in the centre. So I'm going to use a 4mm crochet hook, and I've got a pair of scissors handy and a darning needle in my bag, which you don't need to see because darning needles are all pretty much the same. So I'm just going to have a quick drink. Oh, that's better. And I'm going to show you how we start. So find the end and pull out some yarn. Now this one is made with a circle in the centre, not the magic ring, which you can use if you want to, but because we've got the granny square kind of holes, I figured it would look nice with a little ring in the centre. And for this one, I've done a chain of 6. If you found that was too loose, you can always do a chain of 4 in your centre, but you just need to make a slip knot however you normally would. And I'm chaining 6, so that's yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that's 3. I just need 3 more to make my 6, and I'm going to make a ring by doing a slip stitch into the very first chain. Now this one here is the knot, that doesn't count obviously, so we just insert our hook, yarn over and pull through both the loops on our hook, and we've made this little ring. So I'm going to do a total of 12 UK treble crochets into this ring, and in the US that's a double crochet. So don't forget, if I say a treble crochet, for you guys in the US it's a double. So I'm going to chain 2, which will get me to the correct height. I always do 2, some will tell you to do 3, but I find 2 is sufficient. So then I'm going to yarn over, go into the centre of that ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, so I have 3 on my hook. I'll zoom in a little bit and it might be easier for you to see. So I've got 3 on my hook, I yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. I'll show you once more slowly. Yarn over into the centre of the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, so we have 3 on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So now with our 2 chain, that's 3, and I need a total of 12. So I'm going to just carry on making my UK treble crochets into this ring, and I'm going to pause the video while I complete those, and I will pick up again with you once I've done my 11th stitch. So remember, with my 2 chain that will be 12, and then I will pick up with you again and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've done all of my stitches. Now these are our first 2 chain that we did to get up to the height. So there's the first one and there is the second. So all I'm going to do now to complete my ring is slip stitch into that chain, and there we are, we have the ring. And I'm going to snip off, because I've worked over my tail, as I was going. I'm going to snip off that so it's not confusing. There we are, we've got the ring. Now, in our next round, we're creating these spaces. You see there? Put my hand behind it. We're creating these spaces, which makes it look like a wheel. So whereas we would chain 2 to get up to the correct height, that's fine. I also want a space, so I'm going to chain another 1. And in the next stitch, I'm going to do my UK treble crochet, which obviously, remember, is a double in the US, and 1 chain. And I'm going to do that in every stitch all the way around. And that will give me my gaps and also an increase into this. We will double our amount of actual stitches, although some of them will be chains. So I'm going to do that in every stitch, finishing with a chain, and I will pause the video now and catch up again with you when we get back to the start. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and if at this point, when you get back to the start, you're a bit confused as to whether you need to go into there, just count them and you should have 12 stitches still and 12 gaps. So counting this as the first one, just count them. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you know that you're completed your ring. So now I'm just going to slip stitch into the second chain of our first 3. So that's 1, 2, there's the third, the gap. So I'm going to slip stitch into there, that second one, and then we've completed the ring and we've got a gap in between each of our stitches. So now we're on to this round where we get our granny clusters. So to do that, we need to be in one of our gaps. So I'm now going to slip stitch into this gap. So I'm just going to insert my hook, pull up my loop and pull it through. So now I am in this gap, and I'm going to chain 2 to get up to the correct height, and I'm going to do 2 more treble crochet into that gap. So that will give me a cluster of 3, and I'm going to do 3 treble crochet in the UK trebles, so that's US doubles, in every single one of these gaps, just going into the gap and complete 3, just like that. So we're doing our granny clusters, and that's also giving us 1 more increase in each of our, so if you think about it, we had 12 stitches, and here we've got 24 because we've got a stitch and a gap, and now we're increasing again. Just pull out some yarn by doing 3 stitches in each gap. That should be enough. So I'm just going to keep going round until I get back again to the start, and just keep doing those 3, a cluster of 3 in each gap until we get back to the start. And that's what it should be looking like. Okay, so I'm going to do this one last one, pause the video, and then I will catch up with you when I've gone all the way around and I'm back at the start again. So I've made it all the way round. I've done my last 3 in there, and I'm going to slip stitch into my second of my starting chains to complete that ring. And this time I'm going to end off. I'm going to leave a nice long tail, and I end off by doing 1 chain, pulling it right down, and then pulling my yarn through to cinch it down. And so that's the round part of the circle in the sand. Now I'm going to show you, just going to zoom back out again, just going to show you now how we turn that into a square. Now you may remember, some of you that have been with me for a while, or if you've seen it, I did a willow square blanket, and I adapted the willow square to be different so that it wasn't as holey. Now this would actually go really nicely with those willow squares if you wanted to break it up so that you would have some of the willow squares and then these ones which are a bit more solid. It would actually complement it quite nicely. So I'm going to put a link now, a little card that will link to that part 1 of the willow square, because it was a little bit more technical. I did the circle part first and then I did the rest in a separate video, so it was in 2 parts, that willow square. Then I did a cowl crochet along, so it was in several parts, but the actual square itself was in 2 parts, so that if you wanted to just refresh about this part of the willow square, not this one obviously, then you could. So I'm going to link that, so if you wanted to have a look at that and perhaps do that one as well, that's fine. But I'm now going to show you how we go and make this into our square. So get my hook, and I used this yarn, which is the same as this one. It's the one I did my project recently. I made a baby blanket with pastels, and so I think I should have enough of this little offcut. If not, I've got another ball there, so, but it helps use the scrap up. So I'm going to pull out some yarn, and I'm going to attach my yarn into in between one of my clusters. Now I'm not going to do it here because I don't like having too many tails to work over in one spot, so I'm just going to choose one. And how I'm attaching my yarn is I will leave a nice long tail, and I will just make a loop with it and pull it through, and using both my working yarn and my tail, I'm just going to do a very small chain, and then I'm going to drop that tail and work over it. So what we're doing now is we're going to make a corner, and that is chain 2. Now making sure I'm right over the corner of this, in between this cluster, I'm going to chain 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to skip to the next cluster. So there's my cluster, my 3, and I'm going to do a UK double crochet, which is just to insert and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. So in the US, that is a single crochet. So I've got 4 chain in between. Now in the next 2, I'm going to do 3 chain, and then in between my cluster, I'm going to do my UK double crochet. So that's 3 chain, skip to the next cluster and do my UK double crochet. Remember, that's a single for US. So there's 4, 3, 3. We're going to repeat that. 4, in between the cluster, 1, 2, 3, and in between the cluster, 1, 2, 3, and in between the cluster, 4, oops, fell out, move that round the back, and then it's 2 lots of 3. It'll become obvious in a moment as to why one is slightly bigger. My last 4, and now my 2 3s, now what I'm going to do, because I didn't do a double crochet in here, but because I had 3 loops on my hook, it was as big as, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that first chain, and it looks identical to the others. So that is how we've made our foundation to do the square round. So now this is our 4 chain, and I'm going to slip stitch straight into the gap. So we're now in that 4, and I'm going to chain up 2 to get me to the correct height, and now I'm going to do 4 more treble crochets. Just check, yep, that's right. I wrote it down. This is how I write down a pattern, guys. It doesn't look normal, does it? It doesn't look like anybody else's pattern. It's just to refresh my memories. So I'm just going to do 4 treble crochet, UK treble, which is US double, remember. So we want 5 with our 2 chain. And I'm going to chain 1, whoops, chain 1, pull it over slightly so it's in the middle, and do another 5 trebles, UK treble. I think that was 4. Yep. One more. So it does look quite busy in that corner. And then in our next, we're here. So we've just made this corner, and these are now going to become our sides where we've got our 3s, where I've got our 3 chains. So we're going to do 3 treble crochets in each of those 2 where we have the 3 chain. So it's just in those 2, we're doing 3. And in the next one, we have 3. The next one is 4 chain again, so that's our corner. That's why I made 4, so it's slightly bigger, and therefore it will fit all of those treble crochets in. So we do 5. Oops. 1 chain. I'll pull out some more yarn. And then pull it over so it's in the middle, and we're going to do 5 more in that same space. If it bunches up, just pull it over a little. So now we've made 2 corners and 1 side. And in our next 2 spaces where we have our 3 chain, we're just going to do our 3 treble crochet sides. They're just a normal granny cluster really. And I think, just bear with me a second, I need to wipe my crochet hook. It's got a little squeaky. Must have been warm. That's better. It slips again, nice and easy again now. So we're back at the corner, and again it's a 4. I'm going to work over this tail this time. So I'm going to do 5, 1 chain and 5. Oh, it falls out. It's so slippery now, it just falls out. And another 5 to complete our corner. If I go too fast for you, then by all means just pause the video and catch up. So then I could just cut that off. So now I'm on my side where I've got my 3 chain. I'm going to do my 3 in each of those, and then I've got 1 more corner where I've got the 4 chain, and then I should finish with 2 lots of 3. So I'm going to pause this video. If you get confused, just rewind a little bit. But basically in the corners where you have your 4 chain, you're doing 5 UK treble, 1 chain, 5 UK treble. And in the sides where you've got your 3 chain, you're just doing 3 UK trebles. Just remember that's a double for the US. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I will pick up with you when we get back to this point. Okay, so I've made it all the way around and I've done my last 3. So now I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of my first 2 chains. So there was 1, there was the second one. Just going to insert and slip stitch, and now end off that colour. Leave a nice long tail always, because I do like to make sure they're all sewn in nicely or worked in. So I'm just going to get that colour so I don't tangle them. Not an awful lot left of that one now. And I'm going to move on to this very pale lemon, this one here. You can use whatever colours you want. I'm just, using up scraps. So you don't even have to use these colours at all. Don't have to make it yellow. You can make it whatever you like. But it's given me an idea for a nice Easter project in any case. So I should be getting on with all the other whips that I've got, and then I'll start on that. Right, so now we are on this row, and this row is what really makes it a square. and we are going to attach it at any corner. So I'm just going to choose this one, and I'm going to attach it by pulling through a loop. You can tie it in, do whatever you want, however you normally start your colours, but I'm just going to do it that way. And I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do 2 UK trebles in that corner, so that's a US double crochet, and so we've got 3 in our corner. And now I'm going to do 1 in every stitch along the edge. So I'm going to pull it aside, and I'm going to make sure that I go into this one, because sometimes that gets hidden by our chains, by our corner. I'm getting my words confused. So I'm just going to do 1 in each stitch. I've been very lucky with these yarns that they're all the same thickness. I've got another little project that I'm going to do a tutorial for, and the yarns I chose were all lovely colours, but it didn't really work out with one of them. I had to undo it because it just came up much thinner, even though they were all supposedly DK weight. Oh, it's gone in the same one. All supposedly DK and you know, a 3 weight, but one was just way too thin. So yeah, just 1 in each one along. Don't try and sneak another one in like I did. Just 1 in each stitch. Do like to keep my bloopers in, gives everybody a bit of a giggle and shows that we're all human and we all do it. So I'm going to pull that a little bit just to go over there a little bit more tail. Sometimes I leave a little bit and then I work it back through the other way, depending on my mood. Oops. I'm just using these Susan Bates hooks because I'm going to review them, and I do find that sometimes they slip out a little bit for me, possibly because they're in line. So right, I'm back at the corner, so I'm going to do 3 in my corner. See what I mean? Slips out. It's only really, I think, because I'm holding it in this way, because I've got the camera in between. So now again, I'm going to do 1 in each of these stitches along, and taking care to go into every one when I get to my joins, and 3 in my corner, just like this. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to continue all the way round, doing 1 in every stitch along, 3 in my corners, and I'll catch up with you when I get back to this point. Okay, so I'm almost back. I've got 1 more to do, and then I'm back at the start. So I'm going to go into the top of my 2 chain and just do my slip stitch. And I'm going to end off that colour just the same as before, pulling it down and pulling it through. So now we've got what looks like a nice square forming, which, I mean, some of you I know will like to block, others don't, but if you just sew these, they do become nice and square. So for my very last round, I did 1 row of UK double crochet, which obviously in the US is a single. So to do that, I just got a darker, more golden kind of coloured yellow, and you can end in whites. You can, if you're making a blanket, you can do all the outside colours the same or not, just depends what you want to achieve. So need to find the centre of our 3 in our corner, so any corner we'll join it. Nice long tail, and pull that down so it doesn't bulk out too much, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets in this corner. So that's a UK double, so that's a single crochet in the US, so just 3 in there. I'm going to pull that one so it doesn't distort, and then I'm going to do 1 in each along our side. So it's a simple double crochet in the UK or a single crochet in the US. That's split the yarn, so I'll come out and do that again. Let me do it again. And just do that all the way along our sides. I'm walking over the tail as I go. Can I zoom out? There we are. Just simple all the way around. I think these colours work really well together. Quite pleased with them. And so we're just completing the square. And when we get to our join, just take a bit of care to make sure that you go in each stitch of our, I think I might have made that one a little tight. So bear with me while I force it in. And into our next one. Going to drop that part now. Just work over this lighter colour. So now I'm back at the corner. There's the first one, there's the second middle one, and there's our last. So I'm going to do 3 in this one, which is the middle. Bear with me a second. Don't really want to split that. 2, 3, and then 1 in each along our side, just as before. I'm just continuing to work over that tail because I've just picked up this lighter coloured one. Just keep going all the way around. And what we're doing is 1 in each of our sides, 3 in our corners, just like that. So I'm going to pause the video because that's all you have to do, and I will pick up with you again once we get back to the start. Okay, so I've made it all the way back, just have that one last one to do. I'm going to slip stitch into this one to finish off, and just leave a nice long tail for sewing in, and end off my colour, and that's it. So just need to kind of tease it into the corners a little bit, but this one is quite a good shape, if you know what I mean. It's already a good shape, but there we are. So just need to either sew them together, make a blanket, or whatever you want to do. So watch out for my Easter project, what I'm going to do with these. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now everyone.